we're actually competing with AI now, because everyone seems to think that I can just copy and paste something. I could go to like shamila.com, and I can copy and paste Arabic text into ChatGPT or into
Yep.
Claude AI or Gemini, and it'll spit out a perfect translation. And I invite all the users here, for those who know a little bit of Arabic and can verify, I invite you to try that. And what you'll find is that it's incredibly ineffective in its current state, because the Arabic texts are written in a way that they don't actually lend themselves to non-specialists. So what I mean here is that a lot of books are written in code, meaning that they're very terse in their structure, in their vocabulary. They're very terse. They expect that you already have a wealth of knowledge previously. They use a lot of pronouns, dama'ir, instead of actually using the word itself.
Yep.
So, like, for example, this is in Mukhtasar Khalil, it's everywhere, right? One of the seminal texts of the Maliki madhab, where he'll say it, right? Like he'll say, like, he'll use a damir, like something like that, and he'll actually be referring, it refers to something 3 pages ago.
Yep. And he literally also has a code in the beginning of the book. You can, the intro gives you the code that he's using.
Exactly.
Yeah. When he says like them too, or when he says he, or when he says the sheikh, all those are like codes going forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these are things that, I'm not saying, so that this ages well. I'm not saying that AI is incapable of doing it, but in its current state, it's not capable of doing it.
There's something else I'd like to add to that. That terminology differs from subject to subject.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
From one discipline, the same word can be used. Another discipline, for example, the word fiqh, the word sunnah in fiqh and usul will have a different meaning.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And
exactly.
how is AI going to know that? AI is not going to be able to know that.
Exactly. And not even that, it'll differ in texts themselves. For example, two very important texts written around, I believe, 100 or 150 years apart from each other, not that long. One text is the Mukhtasar of Ibn al-Hajib, Jami' al-Ummahat, in Maliki fiqh, and then the other is Mukhtasar Khalil. And in these two texts, both of them have almost exactly the same purpose of summarizing the madhab, but they use the same terminology. For example, a term like al-azhar, right? They'll use it differently in the Mukhtasar of Ibn al-Hajib and the Mukhtasar of Imam Khalil. And in fact, you'll find that even PhD researchers are unable, unless they're specialists in Maliki fiqh who have studied at the foot of scholars, right? Of like true ulama, like the likes of the ulama like Sheikh al-Maghili, who we talked about last time, or Sheikh Muhammad al-Hassan al-Khadim, who's still alive today in Mauritania, Sheikh Mukhtar Bah in Mauritania as well. These ulama who have carried the tradition, unless they sat with these ulama for a long amount of time, they wouldn't be able to pick up on these intricacies. And of course, I myself am not able to pick up on all these intricacies, but it's very difficult to find qualified translators.
And I'd like to add to the reason for that is that the origin of Islamic scholarship is that it's a living tradition from human to human.
Right.
And when humans are writing a book for someone who will read it with another human, then he could actually write in summarized code like this, right? And he could have his own terminology, because the expectation is that you're going to read this. You can read it on your own, but you always have some human to refer back to explain what the teacher meant.
Right. Yeah, that's incredibly, incredibly important. That human connection that's there, which is why, for example, all of these, which we'll go over in a second, I'll just show the list of the different projects that we've been working on. But if, all of these texts have been done by a human being, which is myself for now, and we have other works that we've done, I'll get to that towards the end, on other collaborators who want to work on this project with us. But all of these are done by humans. And another thing that's unique about this app and unique about our translation method is 3 things. Firstly is a selection process, because of the fact that commercially, many of these books that I've selected to translate are not going to be commercially successful books if I were to publish them. Because there's a niche audience who wants to, for example, learn um, usul al-fiqh these days.
Yeah.
And the ones that want to learn it are, pretty quickly they're going to move on to Arabic, or they're going to be studying it in a university setting, and go in a completely opposite direction. But what about Muslims like myself, right, who are just average Muslims who want, are literary, right? They read about other things that they should also be able to access the Islamic written tradition in the same way that I'm able to access any other tradition as well. There should be resources that are out there. So the selection process, we have such an incredible selection of books that are out there. Just in front of me, for example, I also have a bookstore at ummaspot.com that you guys
Mm-hmm.
can check out. But I have hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands, of texts just like this. These are small little texts, little mutun, little rasail that are just ready to be translated about incredibly important topics that are relevant to us today. And they're maybe 15 pages long, 20 pages long sometimes, but it might be something that's incredibly important. For example, I have a text here, written about the fatwa
Mm-hmm.
on triple divorces, for example.
Mm.
And you can't write an entire book on it per se, but it's a research paper or it's a risala that is just on this niche topic that either it's going to be floating around as a PDF if someone is kind enough to translate it and put it out there. But why are we not collecting these resources and
Yeah.
putting them together and creating a repository? Because these are never going to be published unless they're published in some journal or something like that, which is very rare, unfortunately, for Muslims today.
So this is
Uh,
really good. I'm looking at how it's written, and you have literally line by line. What's your opinion on throwing it through AI and then fixing the mistakes? What do you believe? What's your belief about that?
so I've seen it being done before, but every translator is going to have a different approach to this.
Mm-hmm.
For example, for myself, I completely stayed away from AI because I'm a student of knowledge. I'm not a sheikh or anything like that. And because of the fact that I don't have a repertoire when it comes to the quality of my translations. But when you have a very seasoned translator, like Sheikh Musa Ferber or Sheikh Mehdi Locke or something like that, where AI would be an excellent tool for someone like them to use. But me
Mm.
personally, I stayed away from it, even though I recognize its values. And for example, what I'll use it for is if I'm looking for a particular word in English, like there's a word in Arabic, an example of like a word like ihtimal or ihtimalat, right?
Yes.
That like to like haml has this meaning of carrying, right? But of course, ihtimal doesn't mean to carry something, even though it kind of does. What it really means, like an ihtimal, is like an implication. So what I might use AI for is that I might say, what's a word that carries this connotation in the English language of these couple of feelings together and these couple of meanings together when I'm not able to find the correct word for it.
Yeah.
But AI can help with so many other things. So if you scroll to the top of the page, Omar, you're going to see that there's a search bar. And this is an incredibly powerful search feature because not only is this going to be searching the Arabic and the English, it's also going to be searching by keywords and it's going to be searching the notes, the author name, everything about the book. You can also bookmark it on the top left where you see, for each line, you see that bookmark icon. Yeah, it's going to tell you that you need to log in. But you could just log in and you could save all of your bookmarks, which
Mm.
makes this a very powerful tool for people who are writing, who are doing research and things like that. And the reason why I put this one in is because my sister, she's in law school and she was doing a paper on human dignity. And she needed to find, some sources related to usul al-fiqh that were related to, like human dignity and, the concept of good and evil and things like that in Islam. And, I realized that, well, even though I have these books that are completely translated for her, it's very difficult for a researcher to use these without bookmarks. So the bookmarks are a very powerful feature and very highly requested by some of the users.
I have a question for you, Othman.